إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to everyone here today. Thank you for taking the time out to come and attend. I want to start this discussion, and I hope that a lot of what I don't speak about in my presentation will come out in the question and answer session. I want to start this discussion by talking about what I used to believe in and presenting it as I would have presented it when I believed in it, and then discuss the ideas that I've come to and why I no longer believe in what I was prepared to give my life for. When I was 16 years old, I met some what appeared to me to be very articulate, educated and committed Muslims, medical students, or other students at London's top universities. One of them happened to be from my hometown, and in a chance meeting began speaking to me about how to solve problems that I felt. And I want to take you through that journey. As a 16-year-old growing up in Essex, racism was a continual problem for me. I had witnessed my friends stabbed before my eyes. Not my Asian or black friends, but my white friends, as traitors for daring to associate themselves with me. And I had to stand there helplessly watch this. And I can count 2, 3, 4 times when my friends were stabbed. And I was arrested. Again, I wrote about this in one of the national newspapers. I was arrested at one point on suspicion of armed robbery, because in the daytime, my brother had been playing with a BB gun, a plastic pellet gun. He was only 17 at the time. And an old lady saw him with his friends and assumed that a group of Asians playing with a plastic pellet gun must have been intending to rob a bank. And so at 3 o'clock in the morning, the police blocked off the roads, and not for the first time in my life, I was arrested and taken to the police station for suspicion of armed robbery and released the next day without charge and an apology from the police. I later found out that I could have got thousands of pounds of compensation, but that's only when I studied law much later, to my regret. But I was arrested at 16 years old for this suspicion of armed robbery. And so this is just a brief picture of the life that I was living. On the international scene, much was unfolding, and especially the thing that caught my attention was Bosnia. Because up until that point, my own search for identity had led me down the line of identifying with along ethnic and racial lines. And so I very much got into hip-hop music. But when Bosnia and the genocide that began in Bosnia, when this started happening, I saw for the first time in my life white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Muslims being killed simply for the fact that they were Muslims, killed by the Serbs for no other reason that they were identified as Muslims, that they would say La ilaha illallah, and they were slaughtered. And I watched this genocide and began questioning myself. Am I really Asian? Do I really fit? Am I really British? Or am I something else? And it was at this time that one of the activists of the political party I ended up joining found me and gave me my identity. What was my identity? I'm not British because I'm not accepted in this society. I'm not Pakistani because I'm not accepted in that society. So who am I? I'm Muslim. I belong to this international group, this international body of people who associate with nothing but the fact that they are Muslims. They have no racism because they accept as their brothers white Muslims and black Muslims and Asian Muslims. Everybody can join this fraternity. Everybody has the same rights of brotherhood. And my identity as a Muslim had been stripped away from me, systematically stripped away from me by the education system of the colonialists, of the British colonialists, who have no other interest but to conquer my lands. So what did they do? When they conquered my lands, they began instituting an education system that taught me that I wasn't British, but rather that I wasn't Muslim, but rather I was Pakistani, or I was British, or I was Syrian, or I was Egyptian, because they are the ones who carved up my lands into these entities. They are the ones who taught my people nationalism. They are the ones who taught my people patriotism. They are the ones who taught my people to bond along tribalistic lines. Before that point, we were one global superpower, one nation, the Muslim Ummah, who ruled the world. And this identity has been stripped away from my thinking. So when I now say that I'm Pakistani, that is a statement of colonialism, a statement of me being brainwashed. When I say I'm British, the same thing but even worse. Because rather than identifying with the victims of colonialism in Pakistan, I identify with the colonialists themselves because I call myself British, a brown side. So if my identity is a Muslim, and on the political level this identity has been stripped away from me systematically, then I need to reclaim this identity. I need to identify as a Muslim in Britain, not as a British Muslim. I need to reclaim this identity and then realize one thing, that the political manifestation of this identity of being a Muslim has been destroyed. The real state that Muslims had, the Islamic state, the Caliphate, the Khilafah, that was destroyed in 1924. And then there was a further conspiracy. So no longer do we know it as the Caliphate or the Khilafah, but we know it as the Ottoman Empire. Because it was reduced from being the Caliphate to being another empire, along with the Russian Empire, along with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. There was an Ottoman Empire. So I didn't even know that it was an Islamic state, that the Caliph who was running this Islamic state was the leader for all of the Muslims throughout all of the world. How ignorant was I? And then I further came to realize that if my identity is a Muslim, and this is manifested politically in a global Islamic state, the Caliphate, where is this Caliphate today? Let's take a look at the Muslim world. And what did I see? I saw nothing but tin pot dictators, propped up by the colonialists, funded and aided directly by the colonialists, who torture and brutalize their populations for voicing political opposition. I looked to Pakistan, I saw military dictatorship. I looked to Egypt, I saw military dictatorship. I looked to Syria, I saw tyranny. I looked to Saudi Arabia, I saw monarchy. Nothing, and none of these systems appealed to me. But what was the root of these systems? Who placed these rulers in their positions? It was, of course, the British, who once they left our lands, put in place these decrepit rulers who were incompetent in running the affairs of their own people, deliberately so that my people will be kept weak. And then further, if I look to the rules and the laws that these dictators would implement or rule by, they were pure and absolute imitations of the Western ruling systems, absolute imitations of Western constitutions and Western lifestyles. So colonialism had not just resulted in me not knowing my own identity, but it had left a lasting imprint in the countries of my one nation, my one ummah. A lasting imprint in the form of these systems and laws that people could no longer identify as un-Islamic. But they were entirely un-Islamic because they did not emanate from my belief system. They did not emanate from my ideology. The ideology that I didn't even realize that I believed in. The ideology of Islam. Islam is not just a religion, but Islam has intrinsic to it a ruling system, an economic system that God revealed 1400 years ago. Everybody who takes a cursory glance at Islam can see it prohibits interest. Anybody who takes a cursory glance at Islam can see that it instituted a caliphate, that the Prophet was a ruler, that he left after him companions of his who ruled, who conquered, who headed armies. This was an ideology with a detailed economic system, a detailed judiciary, a detailed political system. How could I not know that? And by believing that this was a religion, once again, I was demonstrating my ignorance and the fact that I had been brainwashed by colonialism. This was the solution to racism. This was the solution to the identity problem that I was feeling. And then to top it off, it was substantiated by verses from the Revelation, from the Quran. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Whoever does not rule by what Allah has revealed, then they are of the disbelievers. فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ, and the oppressors, وَالْفَاسِقُونَ, and the evildoers. إِنِّ الْحُكْمَ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. The rule is for none but Allah. يَقُصُّ الْحَقَّ وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْفَاصِلِينَ. He tells the truth and he's the best of deciders.